politics or politics will turn on to you. A very good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. And as usual, we've brought to you, we're going to bring to you an update on what's happening in Sri Lanka's political scene, specifically focusing on the need to speed up progress here in Sri Lanka. Of course, it's no secret that Sri Lanka has been through several crises, starting from maybe beginning at the Easter Sunday attack, and then COVID-19 pandemic, the economic crisis, and the external shocks continue to hit Sri Lanka. But of course, that is not an excuse because Sri Lanka needs progress if we are to keep up with the rest of the world. And to bring to you all that is relevant in Sri Lanka's current political sphere, of course, we've got an expert panel today as well. We've got Mr. Navin Dissanayake from the United National Party, a person who needs no introduction. Thank you very much, Mr. Dissanayake, for joining us on our program today. Also, we've got Mr. Neomal Perera from the Samagi Janabalia, again, a person who needs no introduction. Thank you very much, Mr. Perera, for joining us on our program today. And we've got parliamentarian Lakmali Hemachandra from the National People's Power. Thank you very much, Lakmali, for joining us on our program today. So, diving right into it, let's start with Mr. Navin Dissanayake, representing the United National Party. Now, Mr. Dissanayake, the United National Party was one of the big political parties in Sri Lanka, if you will, part of the big two. We had a bipolar political system in Sri Lanka, but that seems to have shifted with the NPP now rising into power. The NPP has been in government for a little over half a year, and the United National Party continues to assess the political situation in the country and, of course, provide constructive criticism to the government on how to progress. Given that today's topic is specifically focused on the need to speed up progress, in your view, what do you think are the main areas of government, after years of experience in government on behalf of the UNP, that the NPP should focus on right now, or the current government should focus on right now, but is lacking thereof? Your time starts now.
Thank you, Sharon, for having me, and I also appreciate Newmal and also Lakmali for participating in this program, representing their political ideologies. Of course, Newmal and I would still like to say that we are still in the same ideology, although we are in two different parties, because both of us actually went to parliament together in 2000. Lakmali, of course, is a new parliamentarian, and I wish her all the best in her future endeavors. So when you talk about progress, I think the most important and fundamental thing, Shalan, is to appreciate the democracy that is at work. Because there was a mandate, 43% mandate to President Kumara Dissanayake. It was a three-cornered fight. There was a clear winner. And after that, there was a two-thirds that was given to the NPP/JVP party to form a government. So therefore, like you said, the 6 months actually is from that point onwards, whereas the president would commemorate 1 year in office in September 24th. So I'm looking at it from that point of view. Okay. 1 year's point I'm talking about. So because although they had a two-thirds mandate, the president actually had executive power from September 24th onwards. So in that sense, I think the NPP came to power on two or three main platforms. The first platform, I think, is to clean up the country, get rid of corruption, get rid of waste, and get rid of abuse. So in that sense, I think there has been much progress because we see a constant amount of cases being filed against former ministers and so-called corrupt individuals. We also see actually a sense of curtailing government expenditure, so which I think is very good. Maybe I wouldn't go to the extent of kind of harassing ex-executive presidents who, for whatever weaknesses they've had, because nobody is perfect, right? I mean, you can talk and criticize Mahinda Rajapaksa a lot, but you have to give it to him that he stopped the war. It's his leadership that got rid of the war. Okay. So for a man like that to be thrown out, without any perks or privileges, is, I think, a civilized country would not do that. Any country that has a presidential system or ex-presidents would give them some kind of facilities. Now, to what extent that is something that can be questioned. Like, for example, a president doesn't need a 30,000 square foot house, but he certainly needs a house. So those things I think are going to the extreme. Also on the economic front, now this is where I have an issue with the NPP stroke JVP. Of course, again, I'm being very subjective. I think it's only, for me, I think at least you have to give 1.5, 2 years to come to some kind of a, some kind of a evaluation
Stability
on it. Maybe 1 year is not enough. But I see, as a former cabinet minister and as a former governor, I see a huge lack of implementation in terms of promises and delivery. For example, one of the main things, platforms that I think the NPP has failed is they gave a very specific promise to the electorate in the presidential election. This is coming from the NPP manifesto, page 57. Introduce a zero VAT rate for essential food items, including locally produced milk and eggs, infant milk, drugs, school books, stationaries, equipment, etc., etc. So again, now what I say here is, now I think this was a very attractive promise, and it has not been delivered. I personally am very disappointed with this, not because I am in a different party, but they very specifically said that it's a zero VAT. It's a zero VAT. So for essential items, අත්‍යවශ්‍ය බාණ්ඩවලට VAT එක අඩු කරනවා. That's what they said. So that has not happened. So maybe because of this IMF program that's in place, so-called ironclad IMF program, but I can assure you that if Mr. Wickremesinghe was in power, he would have definitely have negotiated a reduced VAT for essential items. Actually, that was also in his manifesto. Because as you know, he came to power in a very tight corner, and then he had to negotiate this IMF package. But then the second phase of it, after the stabilization and the implementation, now we've had a 5% growth last year, right? I mean, tremendous victory for Sri Lanka from 2022, when we had zero economic growth, to come to 5% in 2 years.
We actually had an economic contraction, negative
in 2022.
Yeah.
And to come up to 5%. Now this year it's going to be 3 point whatever percent, right? So this says, this is the ADB assessment, Asian Development Outlook, April 2025. So this says 3.9, but that has also been revised. So as you know, 3.9, if you have inflation of 5%, that means you're basically having a growth of about 1%. Right, so you're looking at a period 2-3 years without much growth. So you can argue when you have a IMF program, you have to first stabilize. But we have stabilized now. But in terms of delivery, economic delivery, the government has not fulfilled its promises. Specifically, particularly mentioned promises like the zero VAT on essential items. I think that is something which the people really expected, and people are disappointed that the government has not given any relief to the people of this country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Navin Dissanayake, representing the United National Party. We'll get into more discussions on these matters as the program progresses and the round for journalists begins. Moving on to Mr. Neomal Perera from the Samagi Janabalia. I'd like to pose the same question to you, Mr. Perera, speaking on the promises or areas of the government that you feel the NPP should do better, given also taking into consideration the time that they have been in office. What do you think progress in Sri Lanka should be, given a bit of an extra push on? Which areas?
Oh, it's all round. I have been always telling, I don't want to criticize. There are certain factors, cost of expenditure has been cut, especially from president downwards. Those things have to be appreciated, but that doesn't mean that that's everything, because that is a negligible amount. But that is important to show that it's been done. But if you take the administration by now the finance secretary, who was a member of parliament, deputy minister, who is now the finance secretary, I thought by him resigning from parliament and accepting, taking over finance ministry post, that he'll do a better job by at least taking decisions I don't see that happening now. Today in the morning, if you wake up in the morning and listen to the news, there is, adverse news that we hear as business people or citizens of this country. I heard today over 1,000 vehicles have been stuck in port. Over 400 containers, 2 months and 3 days up to date, have not been cleared. So what is the loss the country is facing? Country is losing because of not taking decisions for such a issue like for salt, essential item. Certain company, they have cleared 6 containers according to the Gazette a few days after the allowable date, which came into the effect on the 10th of June. They said before if it is 10th of June in the date of the BL, that you are allowed to clear once it reaches Sri Lanka. But there are containers that have come before the 10th according to the BL, and the BL date in the Gazette, the cabinet paper, and English translation and Sinhalese translation varies in that. So there is a problem with the presidential office and the staff who send this information for printing to be gazetted. But the law of the country is there to go by the Sinhalese version. So if the Sinhalese version is clearly said according to the Gazette, according to the cabinet paper, they have to go by the Sinhalese version and allow this to be cleared. These have not been done. So there are favoritism taking place even at present. Although there is no corruption, when you take corruption, there are people are getting apprehended at various places. Today or yesterday I saw for 200 rupees the people are getting apprehended. But when you take corruption, I don't think due to fear, they may be doing it in a different way. It would have reduced. But as far as customs are concerned, I don't know. I am not an importer. But this is what I hear from outside, that it is still going on. So similarly, there are issues that are taking place as far as the 400 containers. I was told that there's a Importers Association, the manufacturers having a media conference today to at least to inform the people and the government, because there is no appointments being given by the Finance Ministry. The ministers are busy, the secretaries are busy, and secretaries don't take decisions. They say to go to the Attorney General and get a report from him because they don't want to take a decision and go to FCID. So there are a lot of reasons, but these things are maybe teething problems. But already over 10 months since President has come, and over 8 months since they got a 2/3 mandate. So absolutely there is, as far as cost of living, nothing is being controlled. That is why the fluctuation in prices in the essential items are taking place today. When you take eggs, if you take rice, if you take salt, if you take any other item, either there is abundance or if there is a shortage. It's not being controlled. So there is no cost of living. Earlier I remember that honorable former presidents, all the presidents, they had a cost of living committee. Every week they met, important ministries, they took a decision. And they knew exactly what was the stock. So these are the same officials who are in power today. So nobody knew. But nobody is taking a decision because they fear that people will take will have to go to end up in FCID. Vasantha Samarasinghe, I have spoken to him myself. He is trying to do his best, but as trade minister, he can't give a directive to the finance. Finance is not acting. I've been trying to get through to finance secretary. It's impossible. I have taken over 100 calls for the last 1 or 2 weeks regarding this Puttalam Salt Importers Association and Sri Lankan Salt Importers Association who have imported this issue. So there is nobody is there to take a decision. You can't go on like this. It's actually the president. He has stopped on the way from somewhere in Puttalam. Then only they have informed that there is an actual shortage. Some TV programs, TV channels showed there was salt harvested, but actually there was a huge shortage in the country. So due to the clip that came in the news, the government didn't want to take a decision. So now everybody is going to the news to take a decision instead of going to the ministry or the secretary. I don't know whether there are any investigations taking place to find out the actual situation of the stocks in the country or future of the industry. Even salt can be predicted what the harvest is going to be according to the weather. So even right now there is a huge. I'm talking about coconut, and you always say I have to talk about it because of the fluctuations in coconut prices in this country. Only one container was imported, coconut milk. CRI and CCB told there is a glut of coconuts in the market. Actual requirement is 4.5 billion coconuts for the industry as well as for the consumption. He was the Deputy Minister of Plantation. He knows the statistics.
No, I was Minister. I
was Minister subsequently. 2001 government plantation, I remember. So for anything I used to go to him and explain, then he would take a decision and implement it. So there's nobody doing it today. There's a now they stopped there's a letter. You can't depend on the weather. There are whitefly disease. There are so many things. There's now MOP is very important for better crops, for better crops, MOP. Muriate of potash, 55,000 tons have been donated by Russia to Sri Lanka. Government is unable to get it distributed. Now more than 8 months. They have given 27,000 tons. I was told the private sector, the mixing plants have been asked to come and take charge or give a rate for mixing and distribution. They don't want to take at any cost, at any rate, because they don't want to end up in the FCID now or later. So because of that, they don't want to do it. And without mixing, there's 27,000 tons lying at the godowns. So there's a huge problem like that.
On one thing that you said now, you said
what is given free cannot be distributed. That's where it is.
One of the main allegations that you made was the fact that state sector employees are not taking decisions because they're afraid that they will be hauled up.
Even the
CID,
private sector,
the Financial Crimes Investigation Division. Might I ask you, just for context, how do you know that they are not taking decisions because of this very reason? Like, did you speak to them? Have you received information from them?
I spoke to Finance Minister's Secretary. I spoke to him. I have the phone name and number I can give you. I gave all the details of 400 containers. He said he didn't have being the private secretary, he said he doesn't have the time to talk to the secretary. And secretary is busy discussing about the future budget. So first you have to take the decisions of what is pending today before you discuss for the future.
My question is how did you arrive at the deduction that these state sector employees are not taking these decisions because they are scared of being hauled before the CID or the FCID or whatever?
According to the importers of salt, they had gone and met the customs chief. They have told, unless you get a written document from the Attorney General, that they are unable to release the container. So how can they can't afford? These salt dealers can't afford. They go on.
I don't think there is a procedure for salt association.
No, I'm just talking about a BL date, which varies from the English
regarding the confusion surrounding the Gazette notification that has impacted.
Yeah, because everybody knows in this, according to the Constitution, we have to go by the Sinhalese version.
Yes.
So Sinhalese version clearly says that to go by
a different date.
Sinhalese version, and English version is varies.
Okay.
So because of that, the custom is not taking a decision.
Okay.
Now 2 months and 3 days, all the importers containers you have to pay to the container owner in dollars, and we are talking about a shortage of dollars. And we are just giving away our dollars that these poor people and the poor country has left. That is because of not taking a decision.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neomal Perera from the Sami Janabalia. We'll get into more discussions on these matters as the show progresses. We finally come to parliamentarian Lakmali Hemachandra from the National People's Power. Now, Lakmali, at the moment, you're the only active public representative, in the sense representing Parliament and also representing the government from all the guests present here today. So, Lakmali, I'd like to pose the same question to you. Of course, the government has been in power for over half a year. The president will be completing 1 year in office on the 24th of September. As the government, I think even the president made it quite clear that Sri Lanka is in a very bad position. I remember the president saying, even before the election, saying that he's not a wizard. He can't just come and wave his hand and solve all problems in Sri Lanka. So as a government, I'm pretty sure that you introspect and kind of try to assess the situation. So in your view, the government's view, what areas of governance or trade, policy or otherwise, does the government need to be a little more active in and maybe speed things up? Your time starts now.
Thank you, I forgot her name.
Shalan.
Shalan. Thank you, Shalan, for inviting me to the program. And I'm sorry I forgot your name.
No problem.
I think we have to understand what this government is and why it is here. So when we won the presidency in September, it was like you said. I mean, we have not been we are not a party. We have not been a party in government, right? And that is why we are elected, because there was a need for change, which means a transition from what was and to something new. That was the expectation, and that is what we. That is what we want as well, right? So any kind of transition, of course, has its challenges. We have been very cautious and very mindful of the fact that there shouldn't be any disturbances, especially in public life, to people's everyday life, while we go through this process. But we have, and especially on the economy, because we've had such shocks to the economy during the past few years, we have been very cautious in how to advance there. But I think that doesn't mean that we don't want to change the system, right? So most of these problems that Mr. Dissanayake and Mr. Neomal are mentioning, I think are because the old system, that this describes the old system that we had, where the minister makes the decision, the secretary makes the decision, you go and meet the customs chief and he will make the decision. Of course, if there are extraordinary situations, that should be how it is done. There has to be some space for, stakeholders to have direct contact with all of these officials. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think we have been relying too much on that kind of system. So we need a system where, people can actually get answers and get solutions without always trying to reach the minister or reach the secretary to the ministry. Because you have to understand, this is something that personally that I have seen, especially in terms of the finance ministry, and also because I'm a member of the COPEF in the parliament. So what I see is there's a lot of lobbying going around also, right? Not everybody has the capacity to take a call to the finance ministry. There are certain sections of the society who will never think of making that call just because they don't have the power, right?
And they don't have the number.
And then they don't have the number. Exactly. No, I mean the numbers that they answer, right? Yes. So, no, the numbers. So then I think it depends on how you feel connected to this system and how much privilege you've had in this system, and how maybe you expect the system to be. I mean, I'm not going to say that we are not going to give access to people to talk to the ministries. Every decision that the ministries are making are very consultative. Especially in the finance ministry, I know that there's a huge attempt to make every decision on a consultative basis, talking to the stakeholders, and of course getting the proper legal opinion. That is important, because you can't make decisions that violates the law just because you are in a position of power. If there is a need, then you have to change the law. That is how you should do it, right? There's ample ways of changing the law, regulating and so on, but you can't just violate the regulations. You can't put a regulation and then violate it. You can't run on exceptions. That's how, we have to get used to that. So it might be a tough period, especially for those who are used to the old system. And I do agree that we need to sort of accelerate in setting up a new system where all these people can feel connected to. That I feel is a must, right? We have to do that. But then we are in the process of doing that. Unlike Mr. Neomal, I don't think budget discussions are unnecessary, because not unnecessary or insignificant, because you know why? Because one of the main problems we have as the government is to get the budget spending done within the year in a timely manner. We don't want to allocate money and then reallocate it, get it back, reallocate it. We don't want to do that.
I think budget implementation in Sri Lanka has been somewhere around 10%, 12%, hovering around that.
Yeah, so even with our government, that is something that we face as a challenge, right? And we want to make sure that budgets are planned, there is proper approval before you get into budget speeches and budget decisions, and that is why the government, the president especially, is taking so much time to plan the budget, because we are used to a system where you just ad hoc bring in a budget and then spend. We want to make sure that once the budget is passed, that money can be allocated quickly, immediately, so that projects can roll on. So that is why the budget, because this is a weakness that we saw with the previous budget, and this is something that we are trying to rectify with this budget, and that's why. I mean, of course, importers are important. There shouldn't be shortages, but we have to have a plan system where we know what is happening and where we know what projects are rolling on and when they are finishing. And government servants are also, the state sector is also so used to saying, we can't finish it on time. That shouldn't be something that you can say so easily. That has to be an exception when you can't finish something on time, right? But this is how it is. There is almost an expectation that, the government will look over it. That, there will be this is how it has been done. It's, right? And even in the financial regulations, I'm told that, public sector is expected to do the best they can, but not actually achieve the targets. So there's no requirement of achieving the target as long as you do your best. But then who decides what is best of anybody? You need to have targets, you need to reach there. So this is something that we want to get right, because we believe the state sector is essential in development. This is something that I think the President reiterated that during the speech that he made yesterday also. We believe that state sector is very important for development. We believe in investing in the state investing in development, and we can't go ahead and do that if the state sector is inefficient, undermanned, and not getting things done in time. We need proper people at the right positions, and they have to be efficient also. So that is something, and you need systems to do that, and from the top. This is why the President is calling on all this. Every ministry is called to give their budget proposals, explain what they have been doing. And this is done because you need that kind of scrutiny in the system. State sector has to be efficient. No state will develop if the state sector is, there is no country in the world that has developed without a proper, efficient state sector, right? Unfortunately, we had to go through a phase during the past few years where there was a freeze on the state sector, right? There were recruitment freezes, and there was a de facto capital expenditure cut, and so our state sector, the officials are suffering because of that. There are so various institutions which doesn't have proper officials, proper equipment, technical support, and professional support to get their job done, which is unfortunate. So we have to get it fixed, sort of, right? So this is the challenge that I think we have, and this is something I believe that if you list out the first three things that the government has to do, at the top we have the challenge of reforming the state sector, and it is the priority of the government at the moment, because you don't have, in certain sectors, you don't have regulatory frameworks. You don't have, like you said, that's true. It's true, at the top there is no corruption, but that doesn't mean the officials are completely free of corruption, right? We haven't reached a point where there is zero corruption in certain institutions. I think it's better. I honestly think it's better in most of the institutions. But I also think that in certain institutions it has to get better. They have to improve. So to do that, we need good people in the system. And this is where our focus is at the moment.
Lakmali, regarding one point that you brought up and also was raised by Mr. Neomal Perera, regarding these Gazette notifications, you said that there's no point in just making regulations. We must ensure that we stick by it, and for that we need proper legal advice. Now, of course, we all know that the government seeks legal advice from the Attorney General's Department. Incidentally, the Attorney General's Department is also the chief prosecutor in this country, and there has been a long-standing discussion, and of course you would know this as you're an attorney at law yourself, that there needs to be an office of the public prosecutor for prosecutions, and then there should be the Attorney General's Department to deal with, giving advice to the government and being technically the government's lawyer. I know this question would be very apt if I'd posed it to the Minister of Justice, but do you have any insights on what the progress is like on the establishment?
I have to look into it, honestly, Shalan. I have to look into it, but I do know that there is a process that has been started. There have been certain consultations with the Aegis Department, and there is a process to establish the independent prosecutors. And we have to also remember that Aegis Department is also heavily understaffed.
Yes, exactly.
It is heavily and legal draftsman department also. When you talk about these gazettes, right? So you don't have, and the whole legal service of the government is also heavily understaffed. So legal reform is delayed so much for this reason. And if you accelerate it, you get bad laws badly drafted, and you know, so we have to, I think that might be the reason some of these gazettes are turning up, you know, weird. I have also noticed that gazettes are coming with, you know, errors and mistakes, laws are coming with errors and mistakes, and maybe because we don't have enough people in these departments doing the job. So, and getting lawyers into this sector is also very
tedious work.
It's not just tedious, it's a very expensive job, right? So we have to, you know, really think about how to reform those, getting expert professionals like that. Even in the finance ministry, you need people who actually know the job, who are capable of doing that. In the, you know, legal services, financial services, these are very tricky areas, and you need proper people, not people who come and go with the minister. But no, I mean, that is not how we should be doing that. We should be nurturing people to grow up within these ministries, so that they will have the, you know, the sense of public service in them, and also not getting underpaid while doing that also, right? So that is something this is why we have been trying to, you know, increase the public sector salaries and all of that. But I think there's still a long way to go in terms of certain sectors.
Thank you very much, Lakmali Hemachandra, representing the National People's Power, Member of Parliament. We now open the floor for questions from our journalists. On my right, Naresh Elliot Thambi, and on my left, Shihar Aniz. But before we just go into the round, there's just one question that I wanted to pose to Mr. Dissanayake from the United National Party, if I may. Mr. Dissanayake, you spoke about the privileges of former presidents and how in a civilized society, you know, some certain privileges would be afforded to former presidents. And I saw a post on this matter on numbers.lk as well, which is, you know, a site that puts out analysis of laws, different incidents that take place in Sri Lanka. And the analysis on that page was the fact that certain privileges are given to heads of state so that they don't engage in corruption while they're in office and try to, you know, amass a massive wealth, think about their future, think about their retirement, and then, you know, not really act in the best interest of the general public. But I find that argument a little bit hard to reconcile with, because considering what happened in Sri Lanka, say for example, to put things into context, say we gave 1,000 privileges to a former president.
1,000.
I'm just putting a number on it, just for the sake of understanding. Say we give 1,000 privileges, 1,000 privilege points to each former president. But what has happened in the past is, despite giving former presidents 1,000 privileges, former presidents have again and again gone and extended that to maybe 25,000, 50,000, or even 100,000. There have been instances where former presidents have sat and as the chair of a cabinet meeting, allocated a massive house for himself, and subsequently it was overturned by the Supreme Court. So these are actual things that happened in Sri Lanka. So now the argument that I saw on the page was the fact that, you know, you have to give a certain amount of privileges to keep them from being corrupt, to keep them, you know, safe after the end of their term. But when the people of this Sri Lanka give former presidents that amount of privileges, all former presidents, or at least a majority thereof, have gone and extended that extremely, vastly. So then one would wonder, if we continue to give, you know, 1,000 privileges, presidents wouldn't be happy with that. So then the next alternative is to increase that to 25,000 or 100,000, the amount that they would be happy with. But then again, what's the guarantee that they wouldn't push it even further? Because a lot of the general public are actually for this kind of legislation being brought in Sri Lanka, simply for the fact there is also a certain amount of anger that is instilled in that because of what has happened in the past, the economic crisis, and certain blame being placed on these former presidents. But could you explain the logic as to why this should not be done? Because if you individually consider the living former presidents in Sri Lanka right now, I'm pretty sure most of them are at least in the top 10% of Sri Lankan society and wouldn't have any problem in surviving for the rest of their lives, and also would have left enough wealth for their children as well. So what really is the logic? If you could help me understand.
Well, there are a lot of variables in your question, Shalan, but firstly I'd like to clarify something to you. I mean, these privileges are given by, as you know, an Act of Parliament.
Yes.
Privileges and Entitlement Act of 1986.
Yes.
So under that, they are entitled to 4 broad categories. Like you said, you can't, I mean, I'm sure you meant it as a broad side.
Yeah.
But this 1,000 thing is not correct, right? They're entitled to a pension, which I think, I don't know the exact amount, but comes to about probably 150,000 to 200,000 a month. They're entitled to some security, which I think, from what I know, is about 20 to 40, right? People, the security personnel. I don't know each individual ones, but
they were much higher, and then they were reduced subsequently.
Yeah, so let's say 20 to 40.
Okay.
Okay. Then vehicles, because they need a vehicle to travel, and from the statements that I saw from Chandrika Bandaranayake, former president, she had something like three vehicles. I know Mr. Vikram Singh also has about 3 to 4 vehicles, and a house.
Okay.
Right. So these are the 4 categories that they can get. So it is not this 1,000 privileges or bonus points or whatever that you make out to be. So this is the actual true capture of the entitlements. They are meant to get a house, and of course in countries like the US, for example, you know, they are entitled to get their own museum. Do you know that? Now the George Bush Museum, right? Barack Obama Museum. They have their own, their center.
So we have a museum for Sri Lankan former presidents also.
No, we don't. We don't.
There was one in Andhra.
No.
I saw wax figures being unveiled.
As you know, in the US,
I'm not saying as a part of entitlement.
They have the George Bush Center. They have the Barack Obama Center. Actually, recently, this guy Bezos gave $80 million contribution to it. But still, despite that, the state actually gives some money for them to set up their center. So that's a different category, one of the richest countries in the world. But these are the provisions that, you know, under the Privileges and Entitlement Act 1986 that Jayawardena bought, that they're entitled to. So I don't think that should. I mean, you can of course have you can have a committee.
Okay.
Right. President can appoint a committee and then discuss with the presidents how much it should be reduced to. I would have done that. You can easily do that, and you can come to a very reasonable figure. You don't need 100 security guards. Certainly within the ambit of 15, 20, 25 is reasonable. Right? I mean, those things can be discussed, and you can come to a middle ground on it. I mean, this is, I think, in a way, a slogan to show that, you know, everything we are above this. We don't need all this. You know, we are not the privileged class. That is the kind of thing that is meant to be shown. I mean, I just like to mention it as a fact that our former president, Mr. Premadasa, he was the first president of Sri Lanka, the head of state, who was not from a privileged class. The UNP is very proud of that. So all these things about privilege and non-privilege, I think basically is a misnomer. It's a political slogan actually, right? So we have absolutely no problem when President Anwar Kumara retires one day, right? He as an ex-president having a certain amount of security, having a vehicle, we have no problem with that because that is part of the worldwide system. So I think there are much poorer countries than Sri Lanka who are looking up, who's doing this. So I don't think you can just throw them to the street. Yeah, I think Mahinda Rajapaksa should have a smaller house than 30,000 square feet or whatever that President Anwar Kumar says that he has. But certainly you can talk to him and tell him, Mahinda, you know, please, we'll give you this house. Why don't you move to that? Then actually throwing him into on the street.
So I just like to, just before.
So that's my point. That's my point.
Yeah. How would you respond to these suggestions, Mr. Dissanayake?
Truly, we do not want to throw anybody, and that is not what this law is about, right?
Lakmali, it basically cancels the whole privileges and entitlements.
Yes. So I will tell you. I mean, this is the idea that privileges are in other countries. Yes, that's true, right? That's true. But then, as you said, Shalan, this is not about privileged class and unprivileged classes. This is not about that, right? I mean, that is not how we see privilege. So, the point here is abuse of power. What we see is blatant abuse of power and misuse of public property, right? If you have presidents who are just extending, their houses, building their houses, using public property and using public money and all of that, just so that Mahinda Rajapaksa's house is 33,000 square feet. It's a mansion, right? It's not a house, it's a mansion. And he was basically building this house, redecorating this house, and redoing all this, redeveloping the house during the crisis using public money. These are the allegations against him, right? And when we came into power, we nicely asked everybody, if you can give up the houses and then move to.
And I think former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa did.
Some of them did.
Chandrika Bandaranaike did.
Some of them did.
I don't think former President Ranil Wickremesinghe even took the house to begin with.
Some of them did, right? But Mr. Mahinda
So
Rajapaksa,
exactly the point, Shalan. If you're only pointing out this problem with Mahinda, then you shouldn't take out this whole principle of giving certain entitlements and protection.
It's not just a problem of Mahinda.
It looks like it. From what she's arguing, it looks like it.
No, it's not just a problem of Mahinda. There was a whole discussion about how our former presidents.
I think there was an issue on former President Maithripala
Sirisena also had that particular court decision was against him, right? So it's not just about one president. This is about presidents have executive power. Right, they are the head of the cabinet. They have considerable power, and they use that power to extend their privileges and benefits and just make their lives better and comfortable. Right? There's nothing against anybody living a moderately comfortable life. We don't have any. I mean, especially if you're not profiting, or if you're not doing a business or whatever. If you're spending it on public money, then you should be moderately comfortable. You can't be, extremely luxuriously, lavishly living. You can't, because in Sri Lanka we don't have that kind of money, right? Our people are not living lavishly, so we should also live closer to the people. That's how leaders should be. And this particular case of Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa and Maithripala Sirisena, and even President Kumaratunga, they have, President Kumaratunga already has a house in Colombo. I think she has several houses in Colombo, right? So why should we, the state, also allocate another house in Colombo to a former president who
But I
already
think there was a
has
clarification that former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga is not going to challenge this.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So this law is to set a new example, is to set a new standard of how former presidents should be treated, right?
Basically saying they shouldn't be treated at all.
If we get to a place where they earn this back again, right, by service to the public. This is how you should be earning it. You earn it through service to the public, right? If you earn this back again by proper use of power, by service to the public, and by being considerate of the public, then I'm sure there'll be a law again to award these privileges back to all these presidents. There's no problem with that.
So this is not the end. It's not like no privileges, never again.
Yeah.
That's not the position.
Of course, there might be time when people feel like, yes, ex-presidents should get the privileges, but this is not the time.
And this promise was part of your manifesto as well.
Of course, this is part of our mandate. This has been part of our mandate in the president's election. This is part of our mandate in the general election, and this is something that we have to deliver on. If we don't deliver on it, I'm guessing the opposition is going to say that we backtracked on it, right? And no, we are not going to backtrack on it. This was a serious problem, even pensions for the MPs and all. I mean, if you didn't abuse it, you would have had it. But unfortunately, you abused it, right? There has to be repercussions to this. You can't just say, now talk reasonably after doing all that corruption, all that blatant misuse of public money. You can't come at us and say, now talk reasonably. You were not acting reasonably. There was nothing reasonable about the way the ex-presidents were acting, right? So there has to be a chance that.
Can I just add a little note on this? Now the presidents, Lakmali can say that they were irresponsible, that they got big house, but it's the people who voted for them also.
Yeah, sure. People voted for us also.
Yeah, right. So now, Gotabaya, if you do an analysis on the 2019 election, which was not far away, right, 2019, like 6 years ago, he got 58% of the Sinhala vote in Sinhala areas. President Anwar Kumar got about 4 to 5%, and Sajid got about 40% or whatever. So, you know, I mean, it depends on the context at that time. And Mahinda won the presidency twice. So if Mahinda was such a ostentatious, lavish, corrupt individual, people should have voted him out of power, which they did. They did.
Of course they did. They voted him out of power.
Mahinda won two.
That's how he came into power.
Mahinda won 2 presidential elections, 2005 and 2010. If he was so corrupt, so lavish, they wouldn't have voted for him in 2010. My point. So anyway, my point is that these presidents have done something for Sri Lanka. They have served the country. People have voted for them through a democratic vote, and they should be given some entitlements. What that encapsulates is something different. You can always have a discussion with them. It doesn't have to be a big lavish house. No way, you can have a normal house, but at least have a discussion on that, because they should be given some security. They should be given some police protection. These are heads of state. You should not ridicule them like this. Whatever said and done, they were elected by the people. By a mandate, right? So, I mean, President Jayawardena, for example, when he was the most powerful president with a 5/6 majority, 5/6, not 2/3, 5/6, he never used a state house. When he retired, he was at what place? President Premadasa, he was at Sucharita. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, he's at 5th Lane. They never use. So anyway, you must have a discussion before you just do this, because I think it's not reasonable to just kick them out and put them on the street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dissanayake. I now open the floor for questions with my apologies.
Lakmali, it's almost 1 year. I mean, next month it will be 1 year since President Navin Dissanayake is elected as the president. Now, yes, he increased public sector wages, that's true. But the real income of the people have shrunk.
Yeah.
Because they can't buy the same thing they bought earlier now, right? And then the private sector also the same, right? If you take the interest rates have gone down, so the returns on FDs, especially for pensioners, are low, right? Taxes, it's on a rising trend. So if people ask you after 1 year, okay, you have reduced the corruption, where is the benefit for us? What will you say?
I think that's a legitimate question to ask.
What will you say?
No, I think that, out of all the questions that people are asking, I think that would be the legitimate question to ask, because I do think that the burden on people have to reduce. That's true, right? Because we went through a crisis, we are still going through a crisis, and that the effect of the crisis was disproportionately delivered on certain sections of the society, right? And we are trying our best to make sure that it changes. Of course, Mr. Navin Dissanayake spoke about VAT on certain items. We did discuss with the IMF, and we were able to remove some VAT on certain goods. I think milk and yogurt were earlier taxed, and we were able to remove the VAT on that. And we wanted to remove the VAT on school stationery as well, but unfortunately that discussion didn't come through, that negotiation didn't come through, so that we are still going ahead with it, right? But we do not think that these are, this, as much as we understand that we are in an economic crisis and all of that, we also think that people have paid a huge price for that crisis. That we agree. Even the president said that. When he spoke about the economy, he did say that, he also accepts that this has to be delivered to the bottom. That is where we are aiming at, right?
My question
so
is,
we have,
my question is, now the corruption is being reduced, right?
Yeah.
So there should be a reflection on that reduction on the public
over the time
income,
it will.
right?
Over the time it will.
So say if the corruption is estimated at 20 billion per annum, that benefit should come to the public.
Yeah.
Where is that?
No, so
why don't people see that?
I think over the time it will reflect, right? So if you look at the income increases in customs, in IRD, in excise department. Some of this is because there is less corruption and there is, more focused work on these departments, right? And we have seen tremendous work that is being done in those departments. So I think it will take some time for these institutions and for the economy to feel the impact of a non-corrupt state sector, and for that we have to make sure that the state sector is also considered to be non-corrupt. We have managed to make sure that the political leadership is not corrupt, but like you said, right, there are certain price monopolies still in the country, and that is especially in certain sectors, in industries there are price monopolies. So tackling these monopolies will take time, and it's not easy to because they have so much power in the market as well, right? We can hit them, we can regulate them, but then there will be black markets, there will be shortages. So that's why I said this is a very cautious, considerate journey that we are making. And the ultimate goal is to make sure that all these monopolies are tackled. We got the anti-dumping laws the regulations in place. So slowly these changes are coming through, right? But I think over a period of time, when we continue making these reforms, this will reflect in the way that people experience cost of living and all of that. I also think it also has to do a lot to how maybe they will not be able to, if you reduce the expenditure on, let's say, schooling, health, right, and other public services, then there might be also an impact on people's lives and how they feel cost of living. And I think this is what we are trying to do. This is why I said the state sector is very important for us. We believe the state sector is very important because these are the only, state sector is the only place where you deliver these as services to people, right? Education, healthcare, transport, all this. And we have made huge investments, not as huge as we want them to be, but considering the place that we are, I think we have made investments from the last budget in health, education, transport and all that. And we want to make more investments during the next budget. I think the President has also mentioned that as the Finance Minister. So we'll see. I mean, this has to be a process, and the economy actually really has to, there has to be a growth in real economy for the real cost of living to go down. And we are still in the process of kickstarting that. Our economy was it was experiencing austerity for such a long time, right? For 3-4 years, there was austerity in the country. And there is still, to a certain extent, we have been able to expand the social safety nets and so on, and give certain benefits to producers like fisheries and farmers and so on. But there is still a lot of austerity in the economy. So all that has to be tackled. And I mean, this is what we want to do. This is where our heart is at, and this is where our plan is at, right? And once, with every step, it will get better. I think it has gotten better, at the top at least. So it has to there has to be policies in place to not wait for it to trickle it down, but actual policies to make them trickle down.
Lakmali, one thing, and I might be wrong in this one, on the state sector, you want to reform the state sector, right? And then you talk about digitalization, ending corruption and everything. And then throughout the last 8 months, the government has approved more than 62,000 cadres, government cadres. So, I mean, how are you going to make it efficient and, basically reduce the wage bill and reduce the fiscal deficit?
So, where I say that we want to make the government sector efficient, it might not necessarily be reducing the wage bill, right? This is about the state sector contributing to development. And if you look at the cadre positions that we have approved over the past few months, those are all related to delivering services and especially development sector. Engineers, technical officers, nurses, doctors, teachers. These are services that you need in the state sector. Unfortunately, we haven't had those positions filled over the past few years, but there are certain other sectors that are overfilled. State sector is overcrowded, but not where it should be, right? In certain areas, it's not crowded. There are vacancies in universities, in schools. So then you have to fill those. I mean, if you look at the development activities that we want to carry on, there's a huge gap of the number of engineers that we need, the number of technical officers that we need. And for the Colombo Municipal Council itself needs about 45 more engineers to actually function the way to fully function, right? So these are huge gaps. And unfortunately, rationalizing the state sector is what we need to make it efficient. There is no point in cutting expenditure on the state sector, because without state sector participating in the economy, there will be no development, right? Development is basically driven by the state sector. So if they are not participating in the economy, it's not going to grow. But when you freeze the state sector recruitments, and when you make it stagnate in a position that is understaffed, where it should be staffed, and where it's inefficient, and where it doesn't have proper policies to be proactively involved in development, you're basically bringing down development as well.
So you don't believe a private sector-led economic growth?
I mean, private sector is very important for development, but I don't think any country has developed without a functioning development-oriented state sector. If you look at South Korea, India, any country. China,
now,
Japan.
Lakmali, you mentioned that you need to recruit professionals like engineers, doctors, and so, nurses, and so on. But also, we all know of this overcrowding of the state sector. Has that been properly identified?
Yes.
In the sense, do you in government now know where it is overcrowded and what is being done about it? And I'm not saying that you have to suddenly send 1 million people home. Other countries, what they do is they reskill. And that is actually a profession in countries like Australia. Reskilling is a profession where consultants are brought in, and there are training programs to turn a person's career from here to here, so that they can go down a different career path, and this is for the state sector. What have we done about this?
Yeah, there are certain policies that we are discussing around this. I mean, I don't want to share it here because there will be a lot of controversial. Because these are things that we are
some people will obviously
rearranging. Some ministries have to be.
Just a question related to that now. Why the NPP government is not doing the state sector, the SOE reforms, state-owned enterprise reform, is one of the main reasons is you have to prune the number of state sector workers, right? You don't want to do that, right? So what's the reform you are talking about overall, and where do you want to kind of reduce the numbers? And you said that the key areas you want to increase the numbers, right? Doctors, engineers, that's fine. But where are you going to reduce the numbers and reduce the wage bill?
Sure, I don't think in this economic context it's reasonable to reduce the numbers just because we want to reduce the number on the wage bill. These are people losing employment, right? So we can't just let them go. These are political appointments. We agree, and we have criticized that also, right? CPC, CEB, SLTB, all of these institutions
Ports
are
Authority.
heavily crowded. Ports Authority, health services, everywhere, right? Yeah, Sri Lankan Airlines, everywhere. But then you can't let people go in this situation. The restructuring has to be something that is a little bit compassionate also.
The next question is, what are you going to do about that?
About what?
About these people, excess
I mean, the first attempt is to make them work in other areas that they might be able to, like Niresh said, right? Reskill them, get them to do work that might be useful for these organizations. And to be very honest, I mean, it's not, these institutions are not loss-making just because of the people that are working in them. It's being overcrowded is not the only reason that they're loss-making, right? So you can maybe reform certain other areas where we can get into before we get into the workforce, right? And see whether once you expand the operations, once you get them to work again, maybe you might need more people into it, and you can get more people from the cadre that is basically lying around, right? So we will see. I mean, that is something that I think the SLTB is trying to do. That is something that CPC is trying to do. So we have to be very cautious and very, not because it's politically, this is not about political brownie points, right? But this is also because we do not think it's it's kind of a government. It's not kind to let people go in this situation. Countries, I mean, like you said, taxes are high, cost of living is high, and with all that, if you have people losing their jobs at a rate, that is not what the government is supposed to do. So we are being very, very prudent about that. But we are trying to reform SOEs. Under the NPP government, several SOEs have turned into profit-making SOEs. Like Milko, Ports Authority has reported better profits. Milko is back to making, profits. And there are other institutions also which are, profit-making at the moment. So you need management changes, you need better management practices and all of that. So we have tried to do that. So we'll see how it goes and try to, because privatization was the option that we had earlier. And privatization means that you're letting go of services that are necessary for people to, you can't privatize buses and, electricity and all of these and get the cost, the prices high, and it will reflect in the cost of living again. So you have to be careful about what we are doing, and that is what, that is the concern for the government.
Can I add a footnote on this? Yeah. So I was the Minister of Public Sector Reforms from 2010 to 2014. So I think I've studied a bit on this subject. So basically, why, the first question you have to ask is why do people join the public service? And generally speaking, it's true that they join because of the pension. It's a huge toll on the public expenditure, the pension that you pay even after you retire. You retire at 60 and then you're getting basically 70% of your pay after that. So there has to be meaningful reform. So what is reform? Basically, I think, like Lakmali mentioned, there has to be some kind of downsizing. Without that hard call, because you're paying 1.4 million government servants every year, every month from the public kitty, and what is their contribution? That there has to be a fundamental review of each public sector employee. What is their role in this development work? So that is number one. Number two is, I still remember my father when he was doing the Mahaveli, and it came to the tail end, from 86 to about 88, 89. He basically got the treasury on board, and he got Ronnie DeMille to come on board, and then he gave the Mahaveli Authority government servants a golden handshake. He gave them offer and said, you retire now, we'll give you this. Because ultimately it was seen that their net cost over a 20-year period would have been more if they remained in the state. So this is what's happening. So you have to make that call. You have to talk to the IMF and say that for the overall good of this country, we must have a not a hard, you can't do this in a hard way like
a VRS scheme.
VRS scheme, voluntary retirement scheme. You must have that in place. And of course, I'm fully.
I think there was one VRS announced. How successful was it? There wasn't really too much of a follow-up on it.
I think even with CEB, there is a plan to announce a VRS scheme.
There are during the last government, the Power Energy Minister, former Power Energy Kanchana was saying like, you can run CEB with 5,000 people, whereas you had 26,000.
26,000, yes.
Yeah. He was telling that.
So that kind of hard calls you must make now, because you must make these reforms which are meaningful, not just plaster reforms, not artificial reforms. So now, in 77 when the UNP came to power, by end of 77, beginning of 78, JR and Ronnie made that call, and they changed the economy to an open economy. So what I'm saying is, you must make decisions. You can't now, it's been a year. Okay, after 2 years, like next September when the three of us are here, we have to see some things on the table. We have to see some progress.
Exactly. I think, Lakmali, now there is some criticism that you are still, the current government is still continuing the status quo from the earlier government, right? The former government, their economic strategies and the policies. Now, what are you going to do to accelerate the economic growth from this year onwards, right? Now, if you see the capital investment or capital expenditure, so far only 15% of 1.34 trillion has been spent, right? So, I mean, there's a huge backlog of procurement process, right? It takes, I think, 6 months, right? So, with that context, how are you going to accelerate the economic growth?
Which is why we are planning the budget better this year.
So half the year is gone now. Half the year is gone.
Because when we came into the government, the budget was already. We came into a government that had the budget process passed. We came in September, and we had to deliver a budget in March. And by that time, the budget was already, the whole planning of the budget was done. So we had to just bring the proposals, which were, new proposals, some of them, and implement them. But we do understand that if we can't go ahead with this kind of budget planning, we need to have a proper budget planning where you actually get the approvals to all the projects before the budget is read in the parliament. And then once it is read, you can start on implementing it, right? Once you get the approval, you can implement it once you get the approval at the parliament, which is not how it has been done previously. Basically, you read the budget, then you start the whole approval process, and then it takes about 3-4 months to get the whole thing approved. And that's a huge delay on development activities, which is why, like I said, this is why we think it is very important to plan the budget, and we are expecting, faster expenditure outcomes with the next budget. Because this is something that we have identified as a problem with this budget, right? And so I think that is the only way to do about, because we need a system, Shihar. We can't just be like, okay, you can't let go of people, fire people. That is also, I mean, yes, you have to restructure the state services, you have to make them profitable. We are trying to do that, and we have been successful in doing some of that. But you also have to make sure that the government service is efficient. And it's not just about people being, efficient. It's also about how planning is done efficiently, how policies are implemented efficiently. And a large part of that is with the executive, right? The political executive. So maybe it is not the job of the minister to, approve exceptions, but it is the job of the minister to plan the implementation of his ministry, which is what which has been lacking.
If I could just pose a question to Mr. Neomal Perera now. The Samagi Janabalia has the largest portion in the opposition. How do you see the contribution of the Samagi Janabalia to expediting progress in Sri Lanka? Do you think that's enough? Do you think more could be done?
No. Right now, there are time to time different decisions we have to take. If it is to handle work as opposition, it's different. Don't go in for election, it's different. You have to have whatever. Talk to other parties and see how at that moment what it is. But basically, I mean, three of you and both of us have been listening to a lip service for last 10 months. It's going to do better. At least now Lakmali is telling nothing has happened, cost of living has gone up.
No, I didn't say that.
No.
Please don't put words in my mouth. I hate it as a politician and as a woman.
No, because
I did not say
nothing
that.
has happened. I said
I didn't say that.
I have been here the last time. He said according to statistics, everything is good. People are happy. People don't have any problem of living. Out of graduates, 50% have left the country. There are no engineers, there are no doctors. Government is looking at giving away.
You have been in power for 1 year.
10 months, almost 1 year. Nothing has happened.
Did all the doctors leave last year?
There are more, if you take statistics, there are more doctors who have left this last 10 months compared to last 10 years.
That's not true.
It is. If you
That's absolutely not true.
Ask for statistics. If you want, I'll bring that within.
Please bring it.
You saw the long 24-hour queues, and you all had to open the passport office for 24 hours. Look at the passport. Look at the driving license. How long it takes? Not even a card today. If you look at the car, in which country a vehicle doesn't have number plate. It's not ready. They are all lip service. I mean, 5 of us are listening. Look at the car being registered today. Is there a number plate given today? Can you remember a year where there was no number plates in this country? Can you remember a year where there was no identity cards in this country? No passports in this country. You look at a passport, what it says, to one place there is a different address. I mean, this country's present situation has gone from bad to worse. It was not good, but gone bad to worse. Look at the political witch hunt today. There are billions of rupees today government can recover. 159 members of parliament today. Bring law and order, transparency, accountability. Are they in place today? If they are in place, people will go to courts and go to court for redress. Today, How many cases are there? Ask the lawyers. There are no cases for lawyers. So because of the time frame, here you are blaming. There are no people in the Attorney General's department. There is no clerks. There are no stenos. There is no people. I mean, to give. So how many judgments?
Judges
have retired and gone. Judges have retired and gone. Judgments not signed. Because translation copies are not available.
And this is happening for the first time in the country.
No, this has been happening.
Yeah.
You have promised to correct in 6 months. They said, give me 1/3, give me the country plus the Prime Minister, I will do it in 6 months. This is what they said. Even today, it's all lip service. I mean, I don't mind what Mahinda Rajapaksa brought the war, ended the war, okay, at that time. Then thereafter, if there was corruption, if there are files, implement that. Don't take... till the witnesses are dead and gone.
But Mr. Perera, now the mandate that was given to the NPP government in 2024 is...
They gave time frames, deadlines, nothing has materialized.
Is quite similar to the mandate that was given to the government of good governance in 2019. There was a 100 days program. 2015. I'm sorry, 2015. Yes, in 2015 there was a 100-day program. There was promise to, prosecute the corrupt. Some of the main promises at the time was Lasantha Wickrematunge's murder, then the MIG deal. There were several other large corruption
the
cases.
Government gave to power, no? On
Yes.
those promises,
So no. My question is now. Time frames were given at that time also. Time frames were not met. And it's a known fact that judicial proceedings, not only in Sri Lanka but even overseas, are protracted. In Sri Lanka especially, it's protracted a little longer because there is a concept in law that says it's better to let 100 corrupt or 100 criminals grow free than to wrongfully convict one innocent person. So there is a huge check and balance as far as the judiciary is concerned when it comes to sentencing a person and depriving them of their liberty and their life. So Ms. Neomal Perera, now you're saying that it's lip service, things are not moving forward. What do you propose? They should just expedite this process, bring some reform to the judiciary to expedite these. There are trials at bars. Special High Court trial at bars that have been appointed to hear cases into the health scandal, the immunoglobulin scam, so on and so forth. But even there, it takes a little bit of time. So how fast do you want this to be done?
I mean, immunoglobulin case was like 2-3 years ago. There are cases which country has been robbed for a long time. There are Panama Papers, Pandora Papers. All those information is available. What have you done? Have you done a forensic audit on the EPF, ETF, and the stock exchange? Pumping and dumping, those monies are available. Where are the money? Where are the illegal assets that people have, more politicians and their friends and relations are enjoying today? Have those been recovered? Have there any cases been put according to several billions? The country has been bankrupted. What has the government done to bring those? I mean, giving whatever privileges to a present president. If he can implement law and order and time frame for any such cases. And bring those money, or it doesn't matter if let him be a fugitive. But if it is proved beyond doubt that the money is available, ill-gotten wealth has been recovered, or at least exposed, that so and so has done it and he has not exposed, not paid according to the returns. It's not in their return. Therefore, it's illegal. I'm talking about political motivated and government servants. So at least do those things. I mean, Mahinda Rajapaksa came to promise to end the war. He ended the war. We know how people were scared to walk on the road. Today, I said today, yesterday it was 78, today 79 shootings. How many people have died? Where is law and order in this country? Where is the intelligence? What is happening? I mean, so where are the drugs? So all these are taking place. Gold is coming in. Everything is coming in. No? Through easy cash, and take a decision. People are prepared to sacrifice, let go of easy cash and various comforts.
Mr. Perera,
if you can minimize, not stop, minimize
Lakmali, I want to ask this question about this.
Availability of
availability
of drugs in the market.
No, decision making now.
And government servants are all leaving. There are no government servants to take on positions.
Translators.
I think you should talk with data.
No, translators. No, ask from the judiciary, where Attorney General Department, how many, forget the lawyers, translators, how many are there to get a document translated?
Along with your response, Lakmali, just tell now this decision making, the slow decision making, or this, the decision making is bit delayed. That allegation is, that concern is there even, among others. I mean, what do you have to say about that? Why is that?
I will first respond to this. I want to respond to this role of the opposition that SJB specifically is playing, right? Because not just Mr. Neomal Perera. I saw on Twitter, on X, where Mr. Harsha De Silva has tweeted that the government, that he's proudly saying that he called out the government on ridiculing India's tariff policy in the parliament, and it has made its way to the Indian Twitter and then to Indian media. Like today when I was checking YouTube and Indian news, you can see several Indian news channels reporting that in the Sri Lankan parliament, government has apparently ridiculed the Indian tariff policy, which we never did, right? This is an absolute lie that Mr. Harsha is. No, he has
following the NPP
policy. It's not about whom, Harsha. Is he following
Indian media must be following you all.
No, please. He has basically tweeted an absolute lie, saying that he called out on the government on ridicule, because who ridiculed India in the government? President made a speech. He didn't say anything ridiculing Indian government or the tariff policy that they have. We didn't say anything ridiculing over the past few months. We have been, going to these negotiations, doing these negotiations, talking about it. Have we ever said anything about India? And Harsha was the one who stopped speaking about India.
So that is the problem with the Indian media, nothing to do with...
No, it's not about Indian media. It's not just about Indian media. It's about the opposition making these irresponsible statements, which has found its audience in... this is what I'm saying.
You can't take what he meant.
Unfortunately, my phone screen has gone,
but
so I can't.
Only development this country, government has done for the last 10 months is opening a casino.
I want to respond. I want to have the time to respond. So this is the level of, is the opposition that we have in the country, right? Actively participating in sabotaging relationships between countries, sabotaging economic decision making in the countries.
That is exactly what JVP did.
Right? No, so I just want to establish that this behavior of SJB is not surprising, but still disappointing. Right? It's not surprising at this point, but it is still disappointing for Mr. Neomal Perera to come here and say, you don't have doctors. I mean, it can't be the first time that he knows this. It can't be the first time that he knows this, right?
Jayawardena, they are discussing giving Jayawardena Hospital to India to be run.
No.
There are no medicine, there is no...
So this is not the, we went through a bankruptcy in 2022. We went through is it the first time that we are going through a medicine shortage in this country? No, it's not worse. We have had much worse in this country 3 years ago.
No standard in this medicine.
3 years ago, we had a much worse situation in this country during the economic crisis.
Yes, of course.
Right? So this is not the all of these accusations that you are leveling at the government. Judiciary is taking long time to write decisions. Judiciary has been taking a long time to write decisions forever.
There are no translators.
It's not just about translators. It's not just about translators. It's about, we don't, in some judicial institutions, we don't have enough number of judges to do that. We don't have enough number of clerical workers to do that, right? So it's not just about this. The government can't come into power and make everything disappear overnight.
10 months now.
And how many months were you in power before?
I'm talking about what the mandate the people gave, 159 members.
This is
because you promised to deliver in 6 months.
Extremely unreasonable and uncritical.
Uncritical, yeah, I agree with you. Uncritical.
Uncritical in the sense, it doesn't make sense.
Too critical.
Yeah.
Not constructive is what you're trying to say.
No, I mean not critical in the sense these are not thought through. Responses.
Mr. Perera, now, since Lakmali also brought this point forward, now like I said before, a similar mandate
has been telling we are going to do.
A similar mandate. A similar mandate.
What we have.
What I'm trying to question you, Mr. Perera, is on the fact that in 2015 a mandate was given to the SJB to do the same things.
UNP.
The UNP. Sorry, the UNP. To the UNP, a similar mandate to what the NPP was given in 2024. Now, in 2015, that was not possible. During that 5-year time period, it wasn't possible.
There was no two-thirds majority at that time.
That's why.
So that's the reason.
That is the reason you can't implement constitutional changes without
What
two-thirds.
constitutional change do you need to make the judiciary perform better?
Of course,
I do not understand this. I mean, seriously,
get it passed in Parliament.
We are not giving these excuses, at least. Right? We do understand.
You don't have to give
no,
excuses.
there is nothing is happening.
Navin
Is an absolute
something.
lie.
Yeah, no, I have been interestingly following this exchange with Neomal and Lakmali. So what I can say is that, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh because, it's like, okay, I mean, 1 year, and I feel 1 year is not enough to come to an assessment. But just like the three of you just said in hindsight and what you're feeling, I feel decisions are not made, number one. Now, Lakmali, now, the cabinet ministers are there to make decisions.
On what?
No, on policy matters.
Policy
matters.
What policies do you want?
For example, taking a decision on this
400 containers or so.
That is not a policy matter.
Containers
That is not a policy
and the
matter.
vehicles that are blocked
No,
in the
again, it's
in
not
the port.
the policy is
The vehicles
already
that are there
made.
in
It's
the port.
regulated. Now we are asking for an exception. That is not a policy matter.
No,
No, I mean, this is what I said.
No,
How is it a policy to release containers or not?
That is why they are there to take a decision.
This is the level of policy
You have to
making that
bring
you are
it
using.
to the cabinet and get the cabinet to decide.
No.
Yes or
You
no?
must have through a process of cabinet papers. You
There
can
is already a regulation.
Why don't
There is
you-
already a
why don't you-
regulation
why
through
don't
the
you
force of a
decide?
cabinet
Then why did you
paper.
allow that containers to get unloaded?
Then why aren't you?
That the custom has to. That the custom has to answer.
So that
The
custom
ministers did
also
not
coming
answer
under the
that.
finance.
No, let it talk.
Yeah. So number two, the process of spending, for example. Now I was a governor. If you have only spent 15% of your allocation, over half the year has gone.
Since April.
No,
Since April, that was when the budget was approved.
Vote of account came in March.
Yeah.
Vote of account came in March. There was a vote of account in December also, right? Vote of account in December.
I remember this capital investment figure came in somewhere around January 26.
January, yeah, that's right. So the provinces, I know because the provincial councils got their
Budget
money, got
implementation started
their
in March and
allocations in February. So now we are in September.
August.
August is coming. So you have only hit 15% of your total allocations, right? So I know for a fact because of this process of kind of. I mean no.
It's not
They are like Lakmali said, they are being cautious. And also
No,
at the
it's
same
not
time,
because of that.
and also government servants are also cautious. They don't want to make decisions.
I want to respond
They want to pass the buck. They want to pass the file and say, right. I don't want to make a decision. You make the decision. Then they pass the file and say, you make a decision, because the government they see a sense of prosecution going on. Number three is, the total
They see
economy.
law and order happening.
So,
There is
no.
prosecution
Can I just
going.
finish?
What do you mean
Can I just finish?
So on that,
On this economy, you just Google private sector contribution to the Sri Lankan economy. How much? 85% GDP. All they have to do is to make the private sector grow.
Exactly.
All they have to do is facilitate the private sector.
Yeah.
Private sector will take care of things. Who bought the private sector? It was Jayawardena. Right? So they need to understand how the private sector works. They want decisions. Private sector wants clarity. Private sector wants stability in policy. Right? So if they are not getting that, then the things will just go on like this.
Most of the people
about development activities and the 15% capital expenditure being at 15%, I think Mr. Navin Dissanayake is failing to mention that for 3 years we had a capital expenditure cut in the country. And there is something to do with it, because you have not recruited any of these people. right? Engineers, tech officers.
No, I think there was
There was a de facto capital expenditure cut, and there is an impact of it on the way that development is rolling out at the moment, right?
Given to change all that.
Of course, we are changing that, Mr. Neomal. You don't have to keep reminding me
But
that.
nothing is happening.
Right? What do you mean nothing? At least the regulations are taking place, no?
No, nothing has taken place.
I mean, at least we're sticking to the regulations. At least we're sticking to the law. There's law and order happening, which you are trying to label.
If not for the IMF, country would have been in a worse situation.
No, that's
There's
not
law
true.
and order because disciplinary, financial discipline
Lakmal,
because of IMF.
No, my point is
I'm
that they are not
criminal
negotiating
law
more harder with the IMF. That's my point.
So did you negotiate harder on
No,
the
we could have.
IMF?
If we had got the mandate, we would have.
When the IMF,
we would have reduced the VAT on essential items,
how
just
do you,
like you
I mean, this is what you had agreed on the second review. What we got for the third, fourth, fifth review is follow up on what you had already agreed on the second review, right? We did negotiate. What you had was that when the third review came up, we were able to remove the property tax, the imputed rental income tax that you had already agreed on. We reduced the digital services tax to 15%, which you had already agreed on 30%. I mean, we know what the negotiations you had done. It was in the IMF documents, it's public. It's already in the public documents, right? So for you to come and say we would have negotiated better, I think that's honestly not true.
Then why
you were never going to negotiate better.
Why did you say
right?
in the policy
we
statement?
did negotiate better.
Why did you put in your policy statement in the president's election that you were bringing the VAT to essential items to zero?
We did negotiate that.
Why did you put it to zero?
We did
You could have put it to
negotiate
5%.
No, we did negotiate that.
So then why aren't we implementing it then?
There are, I mean, let's see. Then we have to, once we do not believe that VAT should be on food and essential food items and stationery.
Now on top of that,
right?
when the SWAT is removed, you need a about 40% additional capital to run a business.
SWAT was an IMF commitment that Mr. Vikram Singh's government had made.
When
right?
it comes,
we also believe that
that
has to be rationalized, where there can't be exceptions to. This is what I'm saying. Everybody, not just the private sector, the state sector, everybody in Sri Lanka are not used to the rule, they are used to the exception. They want to be the exception for everything. There's a regulation, you want to be the exception. You break the law, you want to be the exception, right? We are not blaming anybody for this. This has been the political culture of the country. This is how things have been doing. This is how the governments have been doing business, right? But we do want to change that. We can continue to give these exceptions and look like a government that make fast decisions. But those are not decisions. That's a decision in the wrong direction, which is how we went into a bankruptcy in 2022. We are forgetting, I mean, very quickly we have forgotten that this kind of decision making led us nowhere.
Fatal mistakes, no?
Lakmal, do you say the delays in decision making is because the government is sticking to the rule of law?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a transition from a bad system to a good system, right? And during the transition, there will be an adjustment period. I think this is the adjustment period.
Right. So when is the adjustment period finishing? When is the adjustment period finishing?
Lakmali, now you're talking about transition. Right. Now we had the local government elections in early May, and then about 2 months ago the actual councils took office. What's the plan? Again, it's a transition because for many years we didn't have elected councils, and now much is expected of these councils in terms of local development. What's the plan? Because the majority are with the NPP. Do you all have a plan where the councils will announce their budgets, their plans, their development, and will that be transparent?
So with the local councils, of course, the budgets there was already, in most of these councils, budgets were prepared by the officials of the councils, the commissioners and the secretaries. But now that we have elected members to the councils, they are preparing those budgets again until up until December 31st, starting from now on. So those budgets are prepared. I think even CMC, which I am concerned about, or which I am connected to, there is a process to prepare the budget, and it will come about very soon. Again, I mean, I'm not speaking about CMC. CMC is relatively a richer municipal council, but again, local councils they have huge issues with financing and staffing, and the government will resolve those issues as well. This is why we are trying to empower the divisional secretariats, empower local councils, and get them to start the work.
But can we see some announcements from them in the sense the councils?
I'm sure there are certain. I mean, local councils don't do a lot of media, I believe.
No.
So,
but since the ruling party, the NPP, controls most of them, so there should now be a policy set in place according to your NPP policy on transparency. So you can't have the local councils behaving like the old local councils.
They won't be. That I will
They need to be as transparent as was promised in the NPP manifesto.
Sure. This is also why we wanted control of the local councils, because the presidents and the mayors decide the financial decision making eventually falls on them. So which is why we wanted the control of local councils, and we are going to make it very transparent. I think the councils that have that are elected and they have started their work, they are being very transparent about the expenditure, the cost of certain projects and how much is allocated for projects, and all that is they are being very transparent about that. I think any person can challenge the council, reach out to your local council members, reach out to your mayors and presidents of the local councils and ask them for, I think you are entitled to do that. And I think our members and mayors and all of them are relatively more available also. So I think you can, this is your right, you should do that. And I think they're publishing them also in local councils.
And since we're speaking about access to public representatives, something that was a little bit of the talk of the town in the past few days was this culture of getting letters from MPs and ministers. Now, this was, of course, expressed by the national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, when he said, it is our political culture to issue letters, to get certain things done via ministers and MPs. I'd like to pick the brain of Mr. Neomal Perera and also Mr. Navin Dissanayake on this political culture, issuing letters to get things done through government. Do you agree with it? To get things done, I mean,
that
get a job.
That is a decision of an individual.
That is a decision. No, I'm asking you, is it a good practice? Is it a bad practice? Do you personally subscribe to that practice? Do you as a party agree with that?
If there is a letter, then he is accountable. Then he is accountable. You can challenge him if he has given an order. Otherwise, you will say, I heard it over the phone. That's why.
No. A letter in the sense. This is when you go and say, Minister, MP, I need a school for my child. Can you give me a letter, saying, give my child preferential treatment. I need a job. Can you give me a letter asking, public representatives or officials, whoever is appointing me, to give me preferential treatment? That practice.
There is no preferential treatment. Anybody, according to the law and order, they can go to court if there is somebody above the
But letters have been
issued. Have been taken.
But letters have been issued and preferential treatment has been given.
Sure, the minister can't take a decision because there is law and order. Person who has to, if it is below the
but I don't think you're understanding my question, Mr. Neomal.
I understood your position.
The practice of issuing letters. You're saying he should take responsibility.
If you get a letter from me,
okay,
and if you want a letter from me, legally, if it is not binding, I can give you a letter. But I know that it's not going to serve the purpose.
No, but it will serve my purpose.
No, he's not going to give the love your job son to get into a school. He can't.
Not now,
I mean,
but
even then.
Even then, no?
No. No, in the sense, a person who is below that person can go to courts and then prevent that person have to get back.
Yes,
to wherever he was.
So, but now
legal system is a person.
No, true. The legal system is there, but of course it is the responsibility of the public representatives not to issue a letter. Not to issue a letter.
No, if you are satisfied, if you are a person, I can't satisfy without giving you a letter. Then I have to give a letter to you. I can't. I need to.
So, okay. If you can answer. No. The question is.
It is a decision of the minister or ministry of the secretary.
Does the SJB as a party? Does the SJB as the party?
No, I can't
subscribe. No, subscribe to this practice. Do you say it's a good practice? I know it has been happening. I don't know if it's absolutely not happening right now. I haven't seen any. But however, do you say that this practice should continue? Should it stop? What's your position?
As far as myself is concerned, I don't give issues letters like that.
Okay.
So if somebody else want to do, that is their prerogative.
That is their prerogative.
Yeah, individually.
So it's
not a party decision.
It's not a party decision.
It's not a party decision.
So
party doesn't say,
for example, if the SJB was in power,
UNP will not tell. I don't think NPP will tell.
If the SJB was in power right now, and a member of the SJB issued a letter saying, please give this person the job, please give this person an appointment in this school, the party will not do anything to stop.
If there is one job available, you can, even if the people come with 10 letters, can give only one job, no. So 9 people will not get that job, no. So therefore they will take the best person for that job. Otherwise, there is a law.
So what you're saying is even the issuing of letters is a farce.
If somebody wants to give a letter, I don't see anything wrong. But as a party, we won't do. As a party, we are not going to tell. I don't think our leader will tell or not.
Give letters.
I can't talk about anybody else.
It's not about your leader saying give letters. It's
Party
about your
policy-
leader saying
party
don't
policy
give
is
letters.
not that.
Would your leader say don't give letters?
He will say not to give letters.
He will say not to give
obviously,
letters. If someone gives a letter, would action be taken from the party?
You can't know because there is nothing can be done with that letter, no. There's nothing wrong legally giving a letter to somebody.
So what Mr. Perera is saying is all
Legally
these
you
letters
can't.
given by politicians
Are a farce.
useless.
It's a farce. It's a farce. Actually, it's a farce. Before that, I like to tell there's one more shooting has gone and taken place at Pahatgama. This is the way. On our way also, we also can get shot. The way the people are shooting in this country. It's not a joke.
Lakmali, now,
Today,
So
80 up to today. 80 up to today.
So
80.
far, no one has been shot after going home from Face the Nation.
Thank God. I mean,
so don't worry.
Let's not give anyone ideas now.
you're all called God-fearing people, so then
Lakmali,
God will take care of us.
You are stressing on the transparency so much, but there's a concern and criticism also about the MOUs signed with India and also the trade, the tariff deal with US.
Yeah.
Now these deals have not been so far revealed and nobody knows the content.
US trade deals.
Yes.
US trade.
I think US trade deals are still, I mean, we have got a 20% reduction.
Yeah.
From 30% we have got it down to 20%, but I think the finance ministry is still in the process of trying to bring it down, right? And you can't reveal too many of these trade, negotiations, too much information about trade negotiations.
The criticism comes because what did we offer?
Yeah.
For for them to reduce it to from 30 to 20.
Yeah.
Right? That's one question. And also the critical thing on the MOU with India is the defense pact,
Yeah.
defense MOU.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So I think the ministry, Mr. Narendra Jaitis, the cabinet spokesperson, explained that this is a pact that requires both parties to agree on revealing the content, right? And therefore, until there is agreement on that, Sri Lankan government on its own can't reveal the content. That is the problem with the defense pact, right? That is why it is not revealed to anybody else. But the content, there is
Otherwise.
even I think Foreign Minister explained what was in there's nothing harmful in it. There's nothing, this is just a
Then you
ordinary.
must make it public.
No, I mean, the reason why we can't make it public has been already explained to the public also,
because
right?
I asked the question, Lakmali, because I remember cabinet spokesman Dr. Nalinda Jaitis once told, if you want, you can request it
Yeah.
to RTI
Yeah.
and get it. And also he said they will table it in the parliament.
Yeah.
And
I think he did. He did
when
explain that these can't be-
when people request through the RTI, the response they got was due to national security reason it cannot be revealed.
Yeah.
Right, and it has not been so far tabled in the parliament.
Yeah, so this is what I said. It can't be revealed because both parties have to agree. Unilaterally, Sri Lanka can't reveal the content of the agreement, right? This is the terms that we get on to these pacts. So if there is, India would not reveal it either in the Indian parliament. Sri Lanka can't reveal it in the Sri Lankan parliament. That is the understanding.
I mean, if there's nothing it has nothing to kind of
No, but
reveal.
Never
it's
heard
not-
of that
not
argument.
about the content.
Transparency requires that.
Yeah,
you,
obviously,
It's
cabinet
not, I
should be
mean, come
informed.
on, you
Public,
have
yeah.
signed defense pacts with USA. So far in AXA, I think both even Janabalia government signed.
everything
it was
has been
never tabled.
transparent.
It was revealed. Everything's there
so
in
far in
public.
AXA were not tabled in the
No,
parliament.
no,
They were not
of
tabled in the parliament.
There's nothing to hide in this.
What do you mean? I think you did not table it in the parliament. That is the nature of
I
defense
can't remember
pacts.
so far an accept.
No,
Yeah, it
they are
has
not
been,
tabled
no,
in the
according to you all, it has been tabled in parliament.
I think
can't
it was revealed in a Sunday paper.
It was not tabled in parliament.
It
It was
tabled
revealed
in
in a
the
Sunday. It was not
It was not
tabled.
The cabinet of ministers must be aware about this.
I'm sure the cabinet of ministers are aware of it. But
But you assure is like there is no harm in that.
there is no harm in it. We have said this
Have
is
you
a
seen it?
regular. This is a
I think
regular.
Shihar has seen it.
No, this is a regular defense agreement that we have. This is just regularizing the practices between India and Sri Lanka about training and sharing information and all that. There's nothing extraordinary about the agreement.
I think maybe
And,
because China
and they
might
are
get
not-
upset.
Yeah.
They are not.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure China is not upset about any agreement, right? And what I was trying to get at is this is not because of the agreement is not revealed because of the content. It's because of this technicality in signing the agreement. That is the only reason, right? And about US trade tariffs, we are still in the process of negotiation, and you do know how unpredictable the other negotiating party is. So we can't be,
We don't know about that.
Really, you don't follow international news?
Whom are you referring to? Whom are you
You do
referring
not
to?
follow international news?
So whom are you referring to?
No, I don't want to. I'm not Harsha De Silva.
Lakmali, can I just, I think
One final question, I think,
running
we're
out
running
of
out of
time.
time.
Yeah.
The transport sector has
Yeah.
been a little bit in the news.
Yeah. Little bit.
Yes. So can we have your take on it, the bus services, and
Yeah.
also in particular, the new bus company which was mooted,
will be coming under.
which would bring modern buses
Yeah.
to the roads of at least the Colombo area. And also, what is happening with train services?
Yeah.
We have a new general manager,
Yes,
railways.
we have a new general manager, and we are trying to bring in new trains also. I think the deputy transport minister mentioned that today or yesterday, and we are trying to bring in, and we are building a new, we are extending the railway track also from Avisavelu to Ratnapura. So modernizing transport is one of the key reforms that we want to make in the not just infrastructure.
What about Mana to Thoothukudi? Are you extending the train service?
I have to check and see. I honestly don't know whether we're extending it or not, but it might be. I mean, if there is a proposal, it might be. Is it required? I mean,
No. Long.
I don't know. There was no discussion about it. There is no agreement about it.
No, there
we
have
don't
been
know about it.
discussions about for a long time.
No.
about
I mean, I think the
joining
previous
India and Sri
government
Lanka.
had a discussion
But
about
what
it.
about the bus services?
And I think the government was very clear about the fact that there is no agreement to extend anything from Mannar to Thoothukudi. So, I mean, if there is a need, if there is a requirement, and if there is a rationale behind it, we are not close to any idea. But at the moment, there is no discussion about it.
That's
right?
not there in the defense agreement as well.
No, that's not defense at all.
No,
So
our
anyway,
defense, our sovereignty.
No. I think the president and has been very clear that Mannar to Thoothukudi thing is not declared, right? So anyway, I think you should follow more news, Mr. Neomal.
That's why I asked you.
So about transport sector, what you mentioned about public transport system, especially in roads which we called uneconomical, where areas where people need a bus service, but maybe the private bus services are not offering buses, right? So that I think is a huge issue across the country, but specifically in Colombo, where you don't have most of the buses running within the city have stopped over the past few years, and there's a huge demand from people for many of these bus services to start running again. Unfortunately, SLTB is also in a position where you can't get them running all together all of a sudden altogether, right? So we have to come into a process where we try to start them while building up the capacity of SLTB, CTB, and which is what we are trying to do. And Metro Bus Company, which we discussed in the budget, is going to be held under the Transport Ministry and maybe formed under the SLTB. And I think there is a certain legal change also that has to be made to the SLTB to form a company like that. But anyway, the idea is not to put more buses, these modern buses that we are trying to bring in. They won't be run under SLTB because that system is so, it's cumbersome, it has been, overused, overcrowded. There are so many issues with CTB which we want to separately reform. But urban transportation, we want to, make sure that it runs under a separate company, and there will be new what do you call low flow buses where there's more accessibility, and they are
buses that are not on a lorry chassis.
Yeah, exactly, they are not lorry
proper buses.
Yeah, proper buses, and it won't be a lot at the beginning, but hopefully that will develop in that direction. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lakmali Hemachandra NPP parliamentarian. We now move to the final segment of Face the Nation, the closing arguments. I'd like to start off with Mr. Navin Dissanayake from the United National Party. Of course, much was spoken of in the debate today, the topic being the need to speed up progress. Mr. Dissanayake, what are your final thoughts?
Yes, just before that, I'd just like to mention a few things on this letters that you mentioned. So this comes from the British tradition, actually. Surprisingly, we follow the British. We had a constituency system. So we, even Neomal was an MP, Lakmali is an MP, I was an MP for 20 years. So we have what we call the constituency day for the people. So they come to visit us and they make various requests. So when they make a request, whether it's a letter or whether it's a telephone call, whether it's kind of talking to officials on various matters that affect them, that is what members of parliament are for. So I have issued letters on people's requests. It's not because of me, but people come and ask for letters. So that it comes from the British system. Yeah, because you have a public day, and people come and as an MP, they come and talk to you, and they make requests. So based on those requests, we comply. Now, when I was a student at the University of Sussex, I had an immigration issue. I went to Brighton and I met the MP there, and he issued a letter to me. So on policy matters, it can be a letter. So I don't think it should be taken out of context. That's number one. Number two, on progress, I think the NPP has a mandate to deliver, right? And whether they deliver or not is up to the people when the next general election or the president's election comes. So far, Neomal has said certain things. I am worried that the speed of progress is very slow because the implementation is very slow. The deliverables are very slow. The key performance indicators are not there to be seen. So I think there's a huge problem with implementation. So they can say it is the public officials that are not performing, etc., but it's the same public officials that were there earlier who voted for them also. Majority of the public servants I know voted for them. So they have that goodwill with the public servants also. So something is going wrong somewhere. I don't know what it is. Whether the ministers have the freedom to make decisions or not is the key issue. Because if you're a minister, you should have that freedom to make decisions and implement. Secretaries are there to make decisions. You can't centralize the implementation in a democracy, because it flows from the parliament, it goes to the cabinet, and the cabinet of ministers are responsible for their selected portfolios. So if those ministries are not moving, that means there's something fundamentally wrong. Either the finances are not coming, or the allocated finances are not properly utilized, or the decision-making process is not happening. So I think generally there's a feeling of disappointment creeping into every sphere in the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Navin Dissanayake, representing the United National Party. We now move our attention to Mr. Neomal Perera from the Sami Janabalia. Your time starts now.
No, other than the casino and the cannabis licenses, nothing has happened. Okay, as far as, of course, salaries have been given, but as far as the economy is concerned, private sector is concerned, no decisions have been taken. Due to delay in decisions, nothing is going forward. And also we are losing. We are losing dollars, we are losing our people, we are losing the educated, everybody is leaving. And when they know that the economy is going to bad, the companies are not doing well, they look for other opportunities abroad. This is the bad side of it. I mean, right to information, if you look at the number of people who have gone, according to job category even, according to education level, I mean, definitely, I'm 100% sure, I vouch for that this last 10 months has been the highest since maybe independence. So, not that I wish that should happen,
you vouch
but
for
yeah.
Okay.
So I wish that they come back. We need the young people to come back. Only the elderly are staying here. So it's a responsibility, liability for the government, and I want the government to go into the huge amount of losses that have been made by public servants, and also collect those funds, collect those assets, and confiscate those assets till the case is heard. Just like you're doing to a drug addict or people getting convicted for drug lords. So similarly, I mean, there should be stringent law like that to recover, not to from next year people put taxes on agricultural land and somebody's paying taxes on the assets. There is no return on those. So people will leave further. Leave and just like how NPP came to power by creating hardship to the people, not allowing development to take place, anything, you heard about the casinos, what the present president told when he was in the opposition. Do you know what he told about the cannabis coming to power, doing all that? Okay, here they have come to power. We are not doing that. We are not objecting to any development taking place. We want this to take place. If it is properly monitored and done, well and good for the country. We wish them well. We'll support them as opposition, as just an ordinary member. Everybody wishes that they support these people, but they want something positive to happen. We don't see. Decisions are not being taken. Because ministers are not taking the decision. Officials are definitely not going to take decisions because they fear. Because maybe due to their mistakes, maybe they don't want to take a decision and go to courts. We called during after their retirement because of the decisions that they have taken. There are a lot of factors that are taking place. So I don't see the negative sides have become positive. Negative sides marginally would have got positive, maybe 0.1%, 1% like that maximum, but not a huge amount for people to be happy, contented. We don't see market, we don't see cost of living being reduced, we don't see vegetable. Now today, if you look at the potato farmer, potato is being imported. So they are at dire straits, there's no issue. Now I referred earlier about 55,000 tons of MOP that are being given by us. Not delivered. Yesterday there was a ministry meeting, agriculture, private sector, Alis, Bowers, then there are the 2-3 companies that mix in plant. They don't want to come and do it even for a fee because they fear of coming back. Some other government may find fault with losing the shortage of due to moisture loss, that they will be found guilty and they may have to pay. Due to those small marginal issues like that, they don't want to come. So because of that, today agriculture sector, we don't have, as coconut growers, we don't have enough fertilizer we don't need fertilizer when there is no rain. We need fertilizer when there is rain. Today paddy farmers are complaining. Palavata Sugar Company, they are complaining. Who is not complaining today? Everybody is complaining. So this is the situation of the present country. We will support you. We are not against you. Our leader has told, many people in our party has told, UNP has told that we will support the government if it is the right thing that they do. So that is where it is. So thank you for inviting me, but it has got bad to us. I'm happy the viewer heard, viewer saw what Lakmali and I and Navin had to say. Now, if they heard previous time what we said, today what we said, they know the decision to take next time. So I can argue, she can say I didn't agree, but actual situation, viewer knows. Thank you for inviting us to this program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neomal Perera, representing the Samagi Janabalia. We now move our attention to Lakmali Hemachandra, parliamentarian from the National People's Power. Lakmali, there was a question that came in during the program that I couldn't really pose to you. There was this recent controversy between contradictory statements being made between Prime Minister Harini Amarasuriya and Vasantha Samarasinghe. I think it was regarding the Supreme Sat.
Yes.
And that led to, certain even political parties in parliament saying that there's now a split between the NPP and the JVP, and some even suggesting that they are willing to form a government with a progressive group that leaves this government and breaks away from the government. So just to get your comment on that, and plus of course your closing statement.
I think the comment on whether there's a split in the government is there is absolutely no split in the government, and I think the opposition is speculating on it. Wishful thinking, I'm assuming, but there's not going to be any split within the government. I think the Prime Minister made a statement which Minister Vasantha Samarasinghe said was based on wrong information given to her, and he corrected that. And he also said that there has to be an investigation into how this has happened and all of that. And we are very glad about that question because it has brought to the surface the issue of the Supreme Act again. And I think it has given the government also more,
reason to
investigate, to be honest. And then
satellite or it is rocket?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing, yeah. And to respond to everything that is being said here, these two gentlemen have been in government far longer than anybody in the government right now. So I don't think it is, very liberally they would come and say, this is not happening, that is not happening, it is not happening.
Anurag Kumar, President, three of us came together in Parliament. Three of us came to Parliament together.
In government, I meant government.
Yeah, government.
And I think if there are issues in the country, those are accumulated over a period of time. These are entrenched issues. And we did come on a mandate to change those. We are not shying away from that. We are not denying that. And we do understand there are challenges in certain areas, but there are things that we have done also. I mean, we have done very well also. For example, both of them are now saying that state officials are scared of corruption. That is what they are, basically implying when you say they are public prosecution. No, this is just law enforcement. The Bribery Commission is doing a really good job in it. The police is doing a really good job in it. So I think we are on the track of getting law enforcement back in the country. But there are certain gaps in it and challenges also, and we will attend to that, right? About development, I think to say that the indicators are absolutely negative is not true. The indicators, all the indicators are actually better than the last year for the first 6 months of the year, right? If you look at the export income, if you look at the remittances, if you look at the tourism income, if you look at the FDI, everything is much better than what it was last year. If you look at the government revenue, all of that, right? So this is just, I don't know where this idea of absolute negativity is coming, which is based on the fact that government servants, the idea that they're trying to establish is that government servants, the government workers are not doing their job because they are scared of going to police. Why? If you do your job, you are not going to police, you are not going to be at FCID, nobody is going to investigate you just because you did your job. But if you are not doing your job, then you will be investigated. If you are doing something that you are not allowed to do within the if you are doing something that is ultra virus, so which you are not illegally empowered to do, then you will be in trouble. And we are not encouraging anybody through letters or anything to do anything that they are not enabled by the law to do, right? Which is what the government is for. I mean, of course, in Britain you have a tradition of writing letters, but those letters are not letters to break the law and violate the law and give privileges to people, right? To specific groups of people, which is what letters in Sri Lanka mean. And if you look at some of the letters these parliamentarians have written, these are about university admissions, school admissions, jobs. We just spoke about how SOEs are overcrowded, and most of those are through these letters only that they have got there. So I mean, you can't take it out of context and say this is happening in Britain, so it's okay in Sri Lanka. In Britain, nobody is putting people into jobs based on letters, right? Nobody is getting school access based on letters. So we have to look at what is happening in Sri Lanka and try to reform that. I do my public day every week. I have never written a letter to anybody, but I do get involved in trying to resolve these matters that people face. I think if you are a clever parliamentarian and if you are creative enough, you can work with state officials to come up with solutions without giving them this facade of a letter, which is a facade like Mr. Neomal Perera just admitted. It is a farce on the voter, and it is a burden on the government servant who is receiving that letter, right? So why do you want to do that? Just help both these people to resolve the issue. And I think that is what, as parliamentarians, we are trying to do. We are not writing letters and asking government workers to do what they can't do, but we are trying to see how we can help them, how we can assist them. Is there better coordination that we can do between agencies, between institutions? Is there policy decisions that needs to change, that we need to communicate to the top? People come and say this. When you ask a government worker, they would say, you can't do it because there's a certain circular against it, there's a certain, so then we have to say, okay, if it's not practical, if it's not convenient to the public, how do you change that policy? That is the job of the parliament. You only have 225 parliamentarians in the country, not to write letters every day, but try and change the policies, right? So which is what we are trying to do. We are not going to give individual letters. I mean, that is, as a practice, I personally don't give letters, right? So, I would ask people to just talk to people and see why this is happening. What is the issue? How can you resolve it? That is the approach that we are trying to take. So, this whole conversation has been, for me, a normalization of the political culture which has been previously. So Mr. Navin Dissanayake would say, yes, pensioners should let go of their pension, but ex-presidents should have their pension, right? So you need exceptions to the ex-presidents, as if the government servants have done nothing to the country. They also have provided services to the country. Why should they let go of their petty pensions so that the ex-presidents can have, huge mansions living in Colombo? So there's total unfairness in the way you look at problems. If there's austerity,
ex-presidents and government.
I think you can. I think it's service to the country.
Sorry.
I think service to the country is service to the country. I think service to the country is service to the country.
He mentioned about a golden
This is MP Lakmali's views. She is entitled to her own view.
Yeah, I'm entitled to my own view. I think service to the country, with whoever is doing it, is service to the country, and it should be treated with dignity. To say that government servants don't deserve a pension and ex-presidents should have mansions in Colombo is, I think, is unfairness, right? But you have allowed it. But you have allowed it. But you have. Sure, he didn't say it.
Not a mention, reasonable hope.
Yeah, he didn't say it, but you have allowed it to happen. You have allowed this culture to grow, and you have participated in this culture. I think both of you have participated in this culture. You have been in government. You have issued letters.
So has the president been in government?
So, right?
He was the minister from 2002 to Chandrika Bandar.
I mean,
he was the minister of agriculture. Why are you trying to
Lakmali, if you can conclude, Lakmali.
Yeah, I mean, I won't respond to that, but what I want to say is we are here for change. We are here for change, right? We are here for change, and we do want to change. We have changed a lot that the opposition is not willing to admit. They are not willing to even, this is the hypocrisy of the opposition. They are not willing to admit the government is doing something good. Now they are talking about economy, and while the past few months they were talking as if the trade tariffs were going to be up at 50%. But now that they are at 20%, they want to know what the negotiating the terms were, right? So it is always about, we are doing our job properly, accept it. Right? There are challenges, there are issues that we have to face, but none of the ministers have come under fire for incompetency or corruption. They are all working very hard to make this system better. And we are all new to the system. Of course, it's going to take some time of adjustment for the state sector to get used to the way we work, and for us to also, sometimes we might also be too aggressive about certain things. We might also be, too strange to certain things. So we also need, I think there was a period of time that was spent on that, and we are coming stronger from that, and we have learned also. I think the state sector has learned also. Private credit has actually expanded during the last 6 months. It hasn't shrunk. So I don't know what this idea where, private sector is not performing well, export sector is doing well, private credit has expanded. So for you to say that private sector is complaining, I don't think so. Private sector is, we are very consultative with the private sector about the decisions that we make. And if there are, requests, they can directly write to the finance ministry. I'm sure there are consultations that are made. I have seen consultations that are made in that direction. So I think these are just creating problems and creating controversies. Opposition should really stop doing that and be actually supportive to make change in the country without constantly, trying to pull the leg off the government, which is what they have been trying to do for the past few months.
Thank you very much, Lakmali Hemachandra, parliamentarian from the National People's Power. Thank you very much, Mr. Neomal Perera, representing the SJB. And thank you very much, Mr. Navin Dissanayake from the United National Party, for joining us on Face the Nation tonight. Thank you very much to Niresh Eliathambi and Shihar Aniz for posing all the right questions. And thank you very much to all our viewers out there for tuning in to another episode of Face the Nation. Until we meet again, take care.